Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing the intimidating TBR tag. I haven't been tagged by anyone. I'm still a relatively small / new channel, so I don't really get tagged by anything, which is fine. I'm just going to do tags anyway that I find that I think are interesting. I'm also not going to tag anyone because social anxiety, but if you want to do this, please go ahead. You can say that I tagged you. I'm happy to tag anyone in this tag. The idea of this tag is that basically it's just books about books on your TBR, books you haven't got around to, kind of get you talking about them and then you remember that they exist and makes you want to read them again. So yeah, without any further ado, let's go through the questions. So the first question is, which book on your TBR have you been unable to finish? I have two for this. I have Kill Me Twice by Simon Booker and The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. Both of these books I started in audiobook format. Kill Me Twice was almost a year ago now when I started listening to it. And I was part of a library. I lived in Newcastle and I was part of a Newcastle library. And then I lost access to that library because I moved away. And I never got to finish the audiobook, so I bought the actual book to finish reading the story because I was quite enjoying it, and I just have not got around to it because it's a physical book and I don't really read the physical books that much. But this is a thriller. It's about a woman who is known for writing books about people who were wrongly accused in her eyes, and then they usually get let off their prison sentences. She's investigating a case with a woman now who was accused of burning a man to death. However, the main character's daughter has claimed to have been dating the guy who was burned to death, and basically he's supposed to still be alive, and if she can prove he's still alive, it proves that the woman in prison never ever burnt him alive. There was a lot going on this. There was a baby farm prison subplot. I only got about a quarter in. But I was really enjoying it. I really like the writing style and I should definitely finish it soon. The other one is The Seven Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. I've got maybe 6 chapters into the audiobook of this. I've also read the first 6 chapters physically with my eyes and I don't know what it is. I'm just not into the story yet. I think I'm going to love it when I actually get into it, but there's a lot of characters, there's a lot going on, and I'm still at the very early stage where I don't really know what's going on, so I'm not intrigued enough to continue. It's an audiobook thing. I'll get to the point where I really desperately want to listen to it, and I might pick up the physical book again, but yeah, I've been putting them off. The next question is, what book haven't you read yet because it's a sequel? And that is Kingdom of the Blazing Phoenix by Julie C. Dow. This, I don't know why I haven't read this yet. I read Forest of a Thousand Lanterns for the Fall into Fantasy readathon back in November, I believe it was, and I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4.5 stars, maybe 4 stars. It's a fantastic fantasy book and I should really want to read this, but I know this isn't about the same character. This is about a different character and it's kind of about the downfall of the first character. So the first book is an Asian retelling of the Evil Queen story from Snow White, essentially, although it's more like its own unique fantasy story. It doesn't really have a lot in common with the Evil Queen story at all, and it deserves more credit for being original than it usually gets. But it was a really enjoyable story, and then the second one is about the Snow White character, so I'm just less interested in reading it. I shouldn't be. I'm sure it'll be really good, and I do want to find out what happens in the story, but yeah, it's getting to the point now where I feel like I need to reread the first one before I read this, and I should read them faster. So the third question is, what book have you yet to read because it's brand new? And that is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is a thriller. It came out in January 2019, I believe, and I've heard really good things. It's about a group of people who went to Oxford together and they were students. And it's like 10 years later and they go to meet up in this hunting lodge over a winter break and they get snowed in and then they start getting murdered. Sounds fantastic. I love snowed in murder mystery type stories where people are trapped and there's no escape and they've got to work out what's going on without outside help. I cannot wait to read this. But because it is brand new, I've been putting it off so I can read older things on my TBR, but I will hopefully get to it soon. The next question is, what is a book that you have yet to read because you read another book by the same author and didn't like it? And that is The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. This is a thriller, and it's about a woman who runs into an old friend and kind of, I think she goes to stay with her or something, and then someone very similar to her old friend gets murdered or attacked, and then her friend disappears and she realises that she didn't really know much about her at all. That's kind of the vague premise, I believe. I read All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda and really hated it. I did not enjoy it at all, particularly because I didn't enjoy the writing style, so it's kind of made me less willing to read this. I still do really want to read it, and I will get down to it eventually, but I've definitely been putting it off because I did not like All the Missing Girls. The next question is, what is a book that you have yet to read because you're not in the mood for it? And for this I picked All Out, which is an anthology of short stories about queer teens throughout history. I was so excited when I heard about this book. I've bought it for a friend and I think they've really enjoyed what they've managed to read of it so far. It's like a really promising sounding anthology for me, and yet I just haven't picked it up because I think my expectations are quite high. I want to make sure I'm definitely in the right mindset to read it, and so it fits this prompt perfectly because I've just been putting it off. But one day I'll be in the perfect mood and hopefully I'll love it and it'll be worth the wait. Next prompt is, what is a book you have yet to read because it's humongous? And for this I've picked The Fireman by Joe Hill. Really most of the books by Joe Hill. I've read Heart-Shaped Box, which I think might be his shortest work, and I absolutely loved it. I really want to read The Fireman. It's a apocalyptic type novel set in a world where I think people just spontaneously burst into flame. There's some kind of virus thing going on. But it's around 800 and something pages. Long books are always off-putting for me. I've got many on my TBR that I haven't read because they're long, but this is like the clearest example I can think of. And I've got the audiobook and I still haven't listened to the audiobook because that's also really long. But I will read it eventually and I'm sure I'll absolutely love it. The next question was, what was a cover by that you haven't read because it turned out to have poor reviews? I kind of adapted this one a little bit because I don't really cover by. Just as more, what was a book that you heard kind of a lot of hype around for me and then you decided maybe you wouldn't actually like it because you heard some of the other reviews. And anyway, it's We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. I've been meaning to read this basically since it first came out and I still haven't because I know it's like a coming of age type thriller type story about a group of friends and something bad happens. I know it's written quite in a poetic writing style, which I don't usually like. And yeah, everyone loved it and then everyone hated it, and now a lot of the people that I think I share opinions with hated it. So I've kind of been putting it off because of that, but now I own the physical version and it's really short and I definitely need to read it soon, so I'll find an excuse to read it, I'm sure. And the final prompt is, what is the book on your TBR that you find the most intimidating? This is an easy one. It is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I have not read this book yet. It has been on my TBR maybe 2 years now and I really do want to read it. It's a story, it's a fantasy story, and it's set. I know there are different Londons and there's like universes you can travel between and there's magic involved and various things. I love what I've read of V.E. Schwab's writing. I'm sure I'm going to love this, but so many people love this and it's a genre that I'm not particularly a fan of. I do love fantasy, but it's a very specific type of fantasy that I love, and I'm not sure this falls under that category, so I'm just afraid that I won't love it. And there's many reasons I just haven't picked it up, but the main one is because so many people love it, and I really want to love it, and I'm scared that I won't. I also realised that I have missed a prompt, so that's not actually the last prompt. The other prompt was, what is a book you haven't got round to because you've not got enough time to read it? The reason I missed this out is because I don't have a specific book for it. I have about 1,000 books on my TBR shelf on Goodreads and on my Kindle and everything, and physical books. And basically every book I haven't read yet is a book that I haven't had the time to read yet, so I didn't have a specific prompt for that, but I did have an answer prepared, so I'll just throw that in at the end in a very professional way. So yeah, that is the entire tag. Like I said, if you want to do it, go ahead. Let me know if you do it, and feel free to post a video down below. You can say I tagged you. I'm more than happy to tag anyone who wants to do it. I thought this was an interesting tag because I spend quite a lot of time thinking about my TBR and kind of planning out what I'm going to read and stuff like that. And it kind of made me think about books that I haven't thought about for a while, so that's always a good thing. If you've read any of these as well, do let me know, because I always bump books up my TBR when I hear people talking about them, so if you have a positive review of any of these, I'd love to hear it. If you have a negative review as well, that would be interesting. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, it helps me out massively, and I hope to see you next time.